Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about a series that some of you may have heard of, and some of you that are about the same age as I am, basically your 30s and late 20s, mid 20s, and perhaps early 20s, already know about. And if you could see it right there, if you could see it right there in its glory, if you will, well, basically if you look at the the box set in the middle, let me move this a little bit. There you go. If you could see it in the box set in the middle, the series I want to talk about is the classic Disney Afternoon series, Talespin. Now, for those that don't know about Talespin, and you're just hearing about it in the recent few years, let me explain what Talespin is. Now, for some of you, like I said, that probably haven't heard of it that much, Talespin was the Disney Afternoons, was Disney's 1990 animated series release. You see, Disney from about 1985 to about 1997 had a syndicated two-hour after-school block called the Disney Afternoon. Well, actually, it was from 1990 or 91 to 97. They had a 2-hour after-school block known as the Disney Afternoon. But from that time on to basically about recently, I'd say about 99, 2000, 2001, for about 15 to 16 years, they constantly produced, either for network television, syndication, or in the recent years of the 90s, the 2-hour after-school block, or as we got into the mid to late 90s and early 2000s, the 3 to 4 hour one Saturday morning block on ABC. Disney would constantly pump out a new animated series. Sometimes they would pump out 2 a year. And every year they would basically try to top themselves, which was good. Which was good if you consider it. They tried to top themselves, which was good. But in 1990, they really topped themselves. You see, after having success with such series as DuckTales, Gummy Bears, and the ever popular Rescue Rangers, Disney decided to take a new approach. And that approach, ladies and gentlemen, was Talespin. Now, just like with the previous two before that, DuckTales and Rescue Rangers, they decided to add in some classic Disney characters in the lead roles, along with some new characters. Those 3 classic characters, or 4, were Baloo, Louie, Shere Khan, and I guess you could say a multitude of beguines. That's right. And just like with the Jungle Book, which they came from, there was also some sayings that were taken out of the Jungle Book and put into Talespin. Sayings like Papa Bear, Little Britches, and a few others. Now, the one thing about Talespin, which really, which really made it one of Disney's true masterpieces when it came to animated programming back in the 90s, especially at the beginning of the 1990s, what made it so good was the fact that it was a first in animation. You see, it got, I guess you could say it got a special kind of treatment. It got the animated feature film treatment, if you will. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means basically that the backgrounds were done with traditional cell animation. You know, the kind of cell animation, the kind of cell animation, if you will, that you would see in a Disney animated feature. It's true. They also were the first, as far as I know, to actually use at times for the backgrounds, their effects, and some other things, CGI. They were the first ones to do that, which was pretty cool. But what really set Talespin apart, ladies and gentlemen, was the fact that in prime time, in September and I believe January of 1990 and 1991, if I remember correctly, what set them apart was their 90-minute uncut movie pilot. Now, as you know, back then, throughout the 80s and 90s and even today, when a new series comes out, a lot of networks and cable channels, a lot of networks, basic, channel, the big networks like ABC, CBS and NBC and Fox, along with cable networks like TNT, TBS and USA, they always like to end a season or a series with the finale for the season or that series as a 2-hour movie. But the same could also be said when a new series begins. Sometimes a network, like say the Big Four, if you will, like the Big Four, if you will, Fox, ABC, CBS, and NBC, as well as, like I said, some cable networks. Sometimes they like to introduce a new series with a 2-hour movie pilot. Well, Disney was no different. You see, every year they would try to introduce a new series with a 1-hour to 2-hour movie pilot. And Talespin was no exception. But the one thing that set Talespin's movie pilot apart was the fact that when it was shown uncut and unedited, it felt like you were watching a classic Disney animated feature. It's true. It felt like you were sitting down and you were watching a movie like, say, Aladdin. A movie like, say, Oliver and Company. A movie like, say, Beauty and the Beast. Movies like that. And you know why it felt like that, folks? Because of the way it was done. The way it was produced, the way it was made, the way it was released. You see, I want you to think of something for 1 second. When you go and see a Disney animated feature, when you would go and see one back in the day of the 90s, late 80s, 90s, and even today, I want you to think about something. What is the average amount of songs you would hear performed in these animated classic musicals, if you will? What is the average? What is the amount? How many songs would you hear performed in an animated feature in theaters? Produced by Disney, or even not by Disney. How many songs would you hear? Exactly. If you've guessed 3 to 4 to maybe 5, 3 to 5 songs just about, then you're right. 3 to 5 songs is what you would hear. Now, that's exactly what Talespin did with their Plunder and Lightning uncut, unaltered movie pilot. They had 3 songs. Unfortunately, all 3 songs didn't make it back into the pilot when it was transferred into episodic miniseries format later on. Only 1 song made it. You see, the 3 songs that were in the uncut, unedited version were your average songs that you would hear, your basic average kind of songs, a variety of variety songs that you would hear in a Disney or non-Disney animated feature. And they were separated by the same 3 categories you would get in a classic animated feature. First, you had the energetic song, the song that really got you into the mood, got you dancing, really got you pumped up. Second song was probably the villain's song, sung by the villain. And of course the third song, ladies and gentlemen, would be the ballad song. In other words, the love song, the theme song, basically the love song of the movie, or the theme song for the movie. The ballad, if you will. The one that gets chosen to be sang and re-sang and re-recorded by a pop singer from a famous record label. And that's exactly the same thing, and that's exactly what Talespin did. they had all three categories for the uncut miniseries, or the uncut movie pilot, which is right here. They had all those three categories covered. They had the categories all covered basically from beginning to end. I'm Gone was the first song performed, and it was reprised later on in what essentially became part one. And that song was, like I said, was I'm Gone, and it was sung by Baloo. Now the second song, of course, was the ballad song, the theme song for the film, the love song, the romance song, if you will. And that was Home Is Where the Heart Is. And that was sung by Rebecca as a bit of a lullaby to her daughter Molly. Now what's unique about this, folks, is that song was the only song that got covered by an unknown pop singer. We don't know whose name, we don't know who it was. But it was a pop singer. We don't know who it was. Did the version of the song which got put on to the Disney Afternoon soundtrack. And then of course you had the villain song sung by Don Carnage and the Air Pirates. Unfortunately, like I said, two of these three songs did not make it in to the episodic miniseries version of the pilot. Only one did, and that one song that made it was I'm Gone. Now, again, this set the standard, literally, for what an animated series was going to be. And Plunder and Lightning, in its uncut, unedited form, set the standard for what a miniseries movie pilot is supposed to be. And it did everything you would ever expect. Now, after that aired, Talespin went on to continue setting the standard. In fact, it was the second series, as far as I know, along with DuckTales, to have other miniseries episodes. In fact, these miniseries episodes were, of course, only two parts. Episodes like A Bad Reflection on You and For Whom the Bell Clangs. Now, now, Talespin was also, though, the first Disney Afternoon related series, though, to have a holiday special, or a holiday related episode, and that was Jolly Molly Christmas. And it was done by having a different kind of title card. You see, unlike having the title just appear on the screen as soon as the episode starts, Talespin had two episodes that had title cards with just pictures on them. One was The Ransom for Red Chip, the other was Jolly Molly Christmas. Now, Talespin, again, besides that, continued to set the standard. And we wouldn't see this kind of animation, all this kind of storytelling at times, dramatic, comedic, action, adventure, if you will, until 1994-95 with Gargoyles. Now, overall, if you have not seen Talespin, I suggest you give it a shot. If you have Netflix, rent out the movies. If you have a computer and you can get a torrent with them in AVI files or MPEG files, download that. If you can find the uncut, unedited version of Plunder and Lightning, and I suggest you Google that by going Plunder and Lightning, Talespin, Animation Source, and Spinner Stuff, then you'll find it. But overall, folks, if you want to watch a classic animated Disney Afternoon series, especially a classic 2-hour movie pilot which set the standard for it, and it feels like a classic Disney animated feature itself, then Talespin's for you. And that's all I'm going to say about it, folks. I hope you enjoyed my explanation to those that don't know much about Talespin yet. And if you got any comments, leave them down below. I thank you all for watching. And God bless, take care, and I am out.